Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to being here.
Wherever you are when you're watching this thing.
Or listening, depending on if you... Well,
listening.
You know, we haven't yet.
We're doing this via Zoom, so I assume...
Yeah, it's set up so that we can release the video,
so
but
I assume it's
you
a video.
assume it's a video?
That's right, I assume it's a video.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia.
And we do finish each other's sentences,
Yes.
like to let you know. If it's your first time with us, welcome. If it's your 500th time with us, welcome. If it's anywhere past that or in between,
welcome.
Yeah.
So it's all new. Each episode is new, as our life is all new, if you let it be. But if you drag a story about who you are into the current moment, then you corrupt the moment with who you once were, and you never discover who you are.
The theme today is Savory Moments.
I thought that was a savory moment, actually.
What, that if you don't drag your story with you, you're here?
Yes. Then life is a savory moment.
It really is.
It's a new experience. It's unwritten unless you impose your internal conversation on the moment, and then you keep creating the same things over and over. Now, if you happen to see that you're doing it and don't judge yourself for it, then it can complete itself in an instant. Problem is, we keep doing the same things. We fall into the same traps of upsetting ourselves with stuff. We don't realize we're doing it, and then we beat on ourselves for having done it. And that keeps it in place. But there's this possibility, if you listen, you'll get pulled into the current moment of your life, and it can start newly, and you don't have to keep on doing those old, unwanted behaviors that keep you upset.
You were just talking about listening, and as you said, and if you listen, our cat galloped downstairs across the room. She's probably chasing a ball. And I thought, wow, you know, when you really listen, life is so rich.
It helps if you have hearing aids.
It does. Do you have your hearing aids in? You do. That's a good thing. I was thinking about it this morning. We are pre-recording this. We record and release all of the podcasts these days. And we're recording it.
We pre-record and release all of the podcasts these days.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if we're recording them and then releasing them.
Then they're pre-recorded.
Yes.
I got it. Okay.
I was thinking about it. We're recording it just a few days after the inauguration with Joe Biden as president here in the United States. And it has just come out that there is no backstock of COVID vaccine. And it's a bit in disarray as far as getting it out to the public. And that spurred in me some like, oh my God, when am I going to get my vaccine? And I realized it's a perfect example of a savory moment, because I can rush in my mind to when are we going to get back to normal, or really enjoy the time and the texture and the being here that has happened during this time frame when we've been socially distant, we are at home, we are doing so many, actually virtually everything via Zoom, where we used to race all over the place. At some point when it opens up, I imagine we'll be doing at least some in-person things. So we may as well enjoy where we are.
Yeah, I'm not waiting until we can travel again to enjoy my life.
Correct.
Right. And there's a lot of enjoyment in simple things, whatever there is to do, whether it's bringing wood into the house for the wood stove or... You
know, one of the things my mother gave me right before she passed away for Christmas, she was very happy to give me a big Le Creuset pot that it has a turquoise bottom, and I made chicken in it last night, and it had stuck on bits of food, so we soaked it overnight. And this morning, I got so much pleasure washing it and making it pristine and putting it precisely back in the cupboard. When you really hear for what you're doing.
Well, I got so much pleasure out of finding that the bacon was cooked.
Yes, Shai wanted to take his shower first. We're recording this in the morning, and so I started the breakfast. That's normally his bailiwick. Should we talk a little bit about listening prior to calling in our first guest?
Yes. Oh, listening.
Marriage. It's kind of
like Princess Bride. Yes. Listening is a unique phenomena where you hold in abeyance your internal thought processes that are critical or say yes or no or agree or disagree with what's being said, so that you can actually allow what's being said to come into you without filtering it through your knowledge base, which allows you to discover things newly. Because if I were to hesitate in the sentence, then in my hesitation, you would have filled in with what you thought I was going to say, given what you've heard me say before. Or if you're new to this broadcast, you would have figured out what I was going to say from what you already know anyway.
But what's interesting about that is it's not you filling in. It's not you trying to figure it out. It really is that mechanism, that thought process, that preloaded, spring-loaded mind that we all have that is very fast.
That dictator that tells you that you're doing your life wrong. Unless when it tells you, oh, you're doing good now.
Which basically gets your attention, so it can tell you that
you're doing it wrong. Yes.
Let's take our first caller.
Okay.
All right. Julie. Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. I'm calling in from the Bronx, New York. And I related to everything you just said about that, the idea of the mind being a dictator, that I really see that. And I was attracted to this topic today because I feel like lately I have not been savoring my life.
Can I stop you there? You see, that's the conversation that you've been listening to.
It says I've not been savoring my life.
Exactly. So that's the repetitive conversation that dictates to you how your life is showing up. So you're listening to that conversation because you repeated it to me just now, or us, and that's the essence of you discovering how to step out of the conversation, allow it to be without resisting it, so that you can start creating your life again. Because in your resistance to the conversation saying, I haven't been allowing myself to
savor the moment,
then that becomes a reality.
Well, Julie, it's not only the resistance to it, it goes through, and that thought goes by. I haven't been savoring the moment lately. And you hear it and believe it to be true and believe it to be you. And
then you find examples to prove yourself right about it. Will find examples to prove itself right. And you get lost in there. The being that is Julie gets lost in the mind that calls itself Julie.
Yes.
And when you have that thought go by and you embrace it as reality, you're painting your reality with a broad brush. Like you're wearing glasses right now. It's almost as if you then paint I'm going to make it a pretty color, magenta, in front of it. And so all you see is through a magenta screen, but it wipes.
Is that magenta?
Yeah, that's magenta that I'm
Okay.
wearing. It wipes.
That she's wearing too.
Yeah, she is too. It wipes away all of, like just now when I pointed magenta, you pointed in magenta,
and you smiled for a moment.
Smile.
You got here for a second in that conversation because you let go of that other conversation that you've been holding on to.
And I really actually enjoy that you've been holding on to that story right now, because I think it does a real service to everybody, in that I have examples from this past week where I've seen you enjoying savory moments. We had a conversation with you and Satya the other morning, and the content is so irrelevant, but you were sitting in your chair, he was sitting on the corner of the bed because you zoom in from your bedroom, and then he went back to work in the living room because everybody's remote. And he was sitting behind you. He was just like enjoying looking at you and enjoying you. And he said something, he was listening to it, he said something, you turned, and the look of love, that was a savory moment, but it goes by, it's very transitory. And then if you pick back up an upset, it's like it never happened. And then earlier, I think on Monday, a whole other framework comes up, you and Satya again, calling in to a Living Made Easy seminar. And somebody said something, it was really potent, and your dog Ace barked. It was like a yes, you're even smiling. It was like a exclamation point or a punctuation on this really great moment. You enjoyed that moment.
But you see, when you're upset, you forget all those moments you've enjoyed.
Yes.
Happiness, amnesia. You forget you were ever a happy-go-lucky human being.
So when that thought goes by, I haven't had many savory moments lately, and you embrace it as though it's true, you wipe out all those things.
It becomes the truth, you see. You listen to lies long enough, they become true.
Yes.
And that is a lie, because see, when you blanketly cover the moment with an idea that you are a certain way, then you never see the nuances of the way you're being when you're not that way. You know, some people say, well, I'm a visual type of person, or I'm an auditory type of person.
I'm a creative.
Exactly. So they miss the magnificence of their life as it's showing up, because they label themselves and they look to prove the label right.
Right. Here's another thing that makes it more challenging. Not what I'm about to say. You are a high school principal.
Yes.
And one of the things you do is you've divided up with your vice principals to have conversations with certain groups of teachers, so that you are, because you don't get to see them in the classroom right now, you have Zoom meetings with them to see how they're doing, check their progress, or you might drop into their class. I am certain that you've had some inspiring moments over the last week where somebody said something, it's touched you, or they created a lesson plan, or they're talking about a child that they finally got through to. But here's the thing. Your attention is not on you in that moment. So you're not necessarily registering it. You're not going, oh, that was savory, and putting it in your bushel basket of savory moments. When you're here, they happen and then they go.
Yeah.
Life becomes savory when you're here for it, but when you're lost in your thoughts. Now, I'm glad your school's working, you know, because as you're occupied with your school and maintaining attendance and making sure that the kids are learning well and the teachers are well and happy and all that, that takes your attention off of you and who you think you are. And you become this amazing human being who manages this complex environment that includes a number of teachers, a large number of students, support personnel, the whole thing, plus the city school system that you have to work with and manage. So you forget about you in that complex environment that you've created for yourself. But when you are left to your own devices, you pick on you.
Yes.
I mean, it's that simple. You're a human being. That's what human beings do. So work is like therapy for you in many respects, because you stop picking on yourself because you've got a project that's greater than you think you are.
3 principles of instantaneous transformation. The first is anything you judge, don't want, don't like, or want to get rid of grows in stature and it sticks around.
It's what you keep. What you keep is what you say you don't want.
Second principle, any given moment, you can only be exactly as you are. So if you're picking on yourself, that's all you can do. Third principle, anything you see without judging completes itself in an instant. So just like I saw that this morning, I started to, they often talk about lean into whatever. I started leaning into accomplishing things this morning. I just slowed down ever so slightly and allowed myself to drop right into being here. And everything, what I touched, what I did, what I accomplished, what I was completing, from making the bed to putting on makeup to having a bite of egg, it was all exquisite. And one last thing, Julie, if you see yourself being hard on yourself and you're like, oh, good, I might as well enjoy this because it's not going to be here for a whole lot longer. That's a whole different thing than like, oh God, here I am again.
And when you go cyclic, when the cycle of upset shows up, then you resist that. That keeps it in place. So then you get stuck in that place you say you don't like. It's like going on a vacation in a swamp.
Yes. Yeah.
You told us something this week. We were asking you if the majority of your students are passing classes, and you said you think it's likely that your school is doing better than most, because when principals get together and talk, they're not necessarily, they're kind of hiding that. And you got this huge smile, and you were talking about how you go and pester people, and you pester their parents, and you pester them to get them online until they come, and how much you had so much fun with it. You don't have that kind of fun with yourself if you find yourself sliding into an upset.
See, when they slide into upset, you get them out by pestering them.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you could slide out of your own upsets by pestering you for having gone there. But
that's it,
with
Julie.
Fun,
stand up and turn around 3 times. You are not going to sit here and feel sorry for yourself. It'd be something as silly as that.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
It's that time.
The time for what?
Our listener feedback spotlight.
What is that?
Well, I'm so proud of the people who listen to this show. And now we get to hear from one or more of them about what's happening in their lives with transformation by listening to this podcast and
what they've discovered about life, what they've discovered about their lives, that they are experiencing fun in their lives.
And that they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
I'm Anina in Thun, Switzerland. And one thing I love about being with Ariel and Shaya is that I learned to listen to men.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
Welcome back. I don't think you left or went anywhere. You were listening to some great stuff in there. We have some upcoming seminars. This weekend, we're doing Being Moved by Life. It's not too late to join. You're very welcome to. The fee for the weekend is $400. If you have been affected by the COVID pandemic financially and you need to work out a scholarship arrangement with us, be sure to contact us. Transformationmadeeasy.com. Also, want to let you know, upcoming in April, we have 2 courses that are bilingual, translated into German. We have the Freedom to Breathe on Friday, April 16th, and Celebrating the Unexpected on the 17th and 18th. To find out more about our Living Made Easy, bless you, seminars, or our upcoming, we're soon to launch the Living Made Easy on Demand subscription series. It's new, it's reorganized, it's beautiful. Everything we're up to.
Madeeasy.com.
All right, let's take our next guest, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Hi,
Hey there.
I'm Tracy from St. John's, Newfoundland in Canada.
Nice. Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
It's lovely to see you. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity to call in and just giving your time for this show for everyone to listen to and for the callers. It's feel very grateful that you offer this. Something I noticed that's been coming up just today while the last speaker was talking is going in between listening and thinking, because I knew I was the second caller for today, like thinking about my question or getting nervous. Like I had thoughts like, oh, I can't do it. I'm nervous, and I felt my heart pounding. But then I would find I would go back to listening for a moment, and then it would be like a back and forth type thing. I just wanted to talk to you guys about it.
Well, in a way, you're demonstrating what we were talking with Julie about. When she's there with her teachers, her attention isn't on herself. When her attention goes on herself, it reactivates that
What am I going to
conversation.
say? It throws the spotlight in your eyes. See, when you ask yourself what you're going to say, then you have to perform. But what if you don't matter? What if it's just a movie that you're watching called your life, and you can participate in it like it's your idea rather than think you can do it wrong? Because you think you can make a mistake. Now, I know you're an engineer, and so you can't really make mistakes when you're an engineer because people's lives would be affected. But you can't make any mistakes with your own life. Really, you can only do what you do. So relax and enjoy yourself rather than try to do it right. You know, look, Ariel and I are in a relationship. We've been in a relationship for almost 39 years. And I still have thoughts like I could do something wrong that would bring her ire or her dislike or her not feeling good towards me. And those thoughts limit my ability to be self-expressive, because if I'm worried about the response of my universe to the way I'm being, then I don't allow myself to see what's true for me in each moment. And especially up in Newfoundland. because people there have very, very conservative ideas about how a young woman like you should go about her life.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I'm not asking you to offend people, but you really got to look and see what your truth is rather than try to fit in.
Something Shai said earlier, I have a feeling people misunderstood. I could tell by your face that you didn't, but I want to circle back to it. When he said, what if you don't matter? He didn't mean you, Tracy, the being doesn't matter, but you, the identity, the conversation, what you, that conversation hangs its hat on.
What you think is important because of the conditioning of your life, what you've been taught to think is valuable or important. And I'm not asking you to be immoral.
I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say the you conversation is talking about whether or not you're doing your life right. What am I going to do next? Even it could be what projects do I want to work on this afternoon? You're out for a walk with your son, Callan, who's young, and he starts running forward toward the street.
That happens.
In that moment, you don't matter. That conversation goes, you're now suddenly engaged in what's happening. And the trick for all of us is to engage in what's happening without having an apparent emergency situation to pull us there. And I often see it in particular in weekend seminars. We're moving toward the end of a day or right before a break. People get a little fatigued. It's the time where the natural tendency is to disengage and kind of float toward the end. But that's when, if you really engage, the juice of life is available. I remember when your mom, Ida, was close to passing away. My mom back then was still quite robust, and she was doing the dishes, and I was talking to her about Ida. And she looked at me, she said, "Oh, really enjoy this time. It's so special. It's something that you will have with you for the rest of your life." And it was like, wow. And then, as my mom came close to the end of her life cycle, and then as I see it now for friends of mine whose parents are aging and whose lives are heading toward the end of their lives, there's something so savory in being able to be here for these moments rather than wish for them to get over with or wish that you had back when they were robust, but to really be able to be here as it's happening as opposed to as how you would prefer it happening.
Yes. Thank you.
I sat this morning with our kitten, who's not really a kitten anymore. She's moving on toward being a 1-year-old cat. And I was holding her this morning, and I had recently seen a picture of you with her on your chest, and she was so tiny.
Back then.
And I suspect you have something similar with Callan as well. He's growing really fast.
He's growing so fast. It's almost, I almost forget, unless I look at pictures, how small he was. It's like, yeah, he's running around and growing so fast. So, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I have one other thing for you in the framework of Savory Moments. I know when COVID hit, you had been living in Brooklyn, and you eventually took your son and you moved up to be near your parents. And then, of course, you needed to start a new business because you're no longer where you were. So there's a consulting business. And I wouldn't be surprised if on some days you wish it were going faster, that you had more clients, that it was a more robust clientele. but you may as well enjoy this startup time, the first clients you have, and your ability to be with them.
Well, if you really take care of them, they will encourage other people to use you.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Your sound faded out for a minute there.
Okay, I said thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, do you enjoy this podcast? I enjoyed this podcast.
I did too.
If so, you can always leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps other people find Being Here. And if you feel to do it, thanks in advance. Also, I've been seeing the show shared lots of different places, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, wherever people share things that touch them. So if you feel to do that, we'd be honored. We are back next week, and the show title
is Your Foibles as Your Superpower.
So come on back and don't miss
Being